Formula One is gearing up for the sixth round of the 2024 Formula One campaign, which is set to take place at the Miami International Autodrome in Florida. Red Bull continues to soar, while Ferrari must absolutely redeem the poor performance of the SF-24, which we saw at the 5.451-kilometer Shanghai International Circuit in the Chinese Grand Prix 2 weeks ago. A Formula One weekend where the load efficiency equation was very good, but due to the tire puzzle, the performance of the Maranello team was quite subdued. A competitive scenario, which was made worse by the low temperatures in Shanghai, that certainly will not be present in Florida. The prancing horse celebrates 70 years since landing on American soil, and also the arrival of HP as their new title sponsor. The biggest change is the recently announced arrival of HP as title partner for the coming seasons, so that as from this race, the team will be competing in the Grand Prix under the name of Scuderia Ferrari HP. The partnership extends globally beyond Formula One. Among various events planned, there is a tribute through a special livery featuring the two shades of blue from past times. The shades of blue throughout the gear give that retro and sophisticated vibe of the Ferrari from the 60s or 70s and create a visually appealing and undoubtedly collectible set for tifosi. Turning to the present, Red Bull remains the team to beat, and the Austrian team will also want to send a positive signal after the confirmation of Adrian Newey's departure, a loss that the team believes it can sustain thanks to the successors: Pierre Wache, technical director; Enrico Balbo, head of aerodynamics; Craig Skinner, chief designer; and Ben Waterhouse, head of performance. Then there is Mercedes, which needs a clear turnaround and expects a step forward thanks to updates to correct the key weaknesses of the W15, making it an important weekend of testing for the men from Brackley, who, despite having only 1 hour of free practice available in view of the Miami Grand Prix, believe they can understand their car. Once again, the second time in this early part of the 2024 Formula One season, the race weekend is scheduled to take place based on the sprint format, a particular format strongly desired by owners Liberty Media in order to shuffle the deck. However, unlike last season, the double parc firm rules offer the possibility of adjusting the setup on Saturday in view of the main race on Sunday, an operation that, if properly exploited, is capable of providing many benefits to better interpret the Sunday race, thanks to the excessive amount of data collected through the mini 100-kilometer race. Without further preamble, let's move on to the analysis of aerodynamic configurations of the top teams, examining the load installed at the rear of the cars leading the standings, based on images taken from the Miami pit lane on Thursday. The first comparison examines the Ferrari SF-24 and the Red Bull RB20 cars. The Italian team has adopted the same rear wing specification for yet another consecutive race, as we had anticipated a few days ago in a previous article. On the other hand, a new specification could be introduced in the upcoming races, when updates to enhance the performance of the red car will also arrive. Perhaps not immediately at the Imola circuit, but rather in Monaco. It's worth remembering that the choice to use the same wing should help in understanding the load of the SF-24 and the optimal exploitation of its current potential. Scuderia Ferrari needs to aim to maximize the car's handling in wide radius corners, while on paper, it should struggle in slow corners compared to the Red Bull RB20. The integration of the wheels, which then lose performance in the traction phase, gives Red Bull a quite clear advantage. Nonetheless, to increase the ability to generate grip on every type of surface, engineers have sought a compromise in terms of suspension stiffness, which, at least until the Chinese Grand Prix, was not fully achieved. Observing the rear of the Austrian blue racing-colored car, we notice that the RB20 brings back a main plane already used in Saudi Arabia. This refers to the first wing foil with a different shaping. This specification seems to reduce aerodynamic load with the clear goal of optimizing performance at maximum speeds. The downforce generated, therefore, should be maximized by adjusting the angle of the profiles related to the beam wing. We know that Red Bull, fundamentally, has a chassis capable of producing a lot of lateral grip, which, in turn, allows them to reduce the frontal area of the rear wing. By unloading the rear, they would shift the balance toward the front, so we expect them to use a higher load beam wing to rebalance the center of pressure. Regarding McLaren, currently on the MCL38 is mounted one of the two rear wing specifications already seen in this early part of the 2024 Formula One Championship. Specifically, we are talking about the configuration from Melbourne, Australia. At the moment, one of their fundamental problems remains the speed at the end of the straight, known as the EOSS value, also due to the reduced efficiency level of the car on which they have been working for some time. Unloading the wing moves the center of pressure of the McLaren MCL-38 too far forward, therefore generating excessive oversteer that contributes to increased tire degradation, so it is therefore not an option for Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. In Miami, the first update package for the Woking-based team's car is expected to be introduced, which is set to focus on the front end. In a recent interview released by the British team principal Andrea Stella hinted that, in Florida, the papaya-colored cars will hit the track with a slightly modified front wing. It seems that, through studies carried out using computational fluid dynamics and wind tunnel testing, the new specification should enhance the downforce generated by the car, especially in the more technically demanding sections of the tracks. An element that could further improve the front end of the MCL-38, optimizing even more the balance between front load and mechanical grip generated by the pull rod. Throughout the past season, we have frequently highlighted how aerodynamic developments brought to the track have improved the drivability of the British single-seater. However, according to the Italian team principal, the modifications we'll see this weekend will allow for a lesser step forward compared to what was achieved last championship. Nevertheless, McLaren believes it can close the gap to Ferrari in the upcoming race weekend. Returning to the setup of the MCL-38, the additional front load allows Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri to hit the track with softer stiffness on the front end. By doing this, the mechanical balance of the car is shifted towards the rear, reducing the lateral sliding of the tires, especially in high-speed corners and in the support phase of Turn 1. By moving back the mechanical center of gravity of the car, the arm that is created between it and the rear axle is shorter. This reduces the moment created by lateral forces, thereby making the car more stable in cornering. Aerodynamically, in the first sector of the Miami track, it is not easy to find a compromise between downforce and minimum drag levels on the straights. The ability to move back the mechanical center of gravity can support the idea of lightening the car to enhance the end of straight speed. We know that McLaren has always compromised straight-line speed during the current Formula One campaign, favoring cornering speed instead. However, the Florida track features long, straight sections, which is why a lighter car might improve overall performance. Previously, we emphasized how the engineers of the British team did an excellent job modifying the setup in China, a practice that could improve a less-than-perfect configuration. Moreover, the former Ferrari engineer Stella highlighted how the improvements on the MCL-38 aim to increase the level of tire management during the race. Leveraging this idea, the team might opt for a lighter car and use the updates to improve the entry phase and tire degradation. Finally, let's conclude by focusing out attention on Mercedes. As mentioned, the Silver Arrows will debut some updates on the W15 single-seater this weekend, a choice made in order to accelerate development and try to raise the performance of the black and gray cars. For the event in Florida, the German team continues to use the spoon rear wing, a specification observed in most of the first 6 races of the current Formula One championship. It's a wing with which they are fairly comfortable, and in the last few races, Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, with the help of the technicians, have managed to find a good compromise between the balance it creates in fast sections and the top speeds it allows to achieve.